You know what time it is? It's time to hang out with Mr. Coop. With Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper. Get the latest scoop from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper. Hang with Mr. Coop, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper, with Mr. Cooper. Get the latest scoop from Mr. Cooper, from Mr. Cooper. Yeah.
Welcome to the Big Scoop with Coop. I'm your host, Coop. Season 9 still going strong, people. If you haven't, make sure you go to thebigscoopwithcoop.com to catch episodes from Season 1 all the way up to right now. Big shout outs to everybody that's watching right now on Facebook, facebook.com/The Big Scoop with Coop. Big shout outs to everybody that's watching on Instagram, IGTV, baby. Make sure you catch me there at Big Scoop with Coop. Also, go to YouTube. Type in The Big Scoop with Coop. Check out all episodes from Season 1 all the way up to now. Make sure you click like and subscribe so you can keep up with the latest content that's going to be coming out. And it's coming out right now. All right, people, enough about me. Today's guest, she is a 3-time Division I All-American soccer player. She has also made the NCAA Women's Top 50 list in 2014. She's also been seen, and you can catch her still today, on ESPN as doing reporting, doing commentary, doing some of everything. Also, catch her on Fox Sports. You can catch her there also. She's got so much going on, people. Ladies and gentlemen, Renee Washington. Like I said before, Renee, she's doing big things. Like I said, you can catch her on ESPN. You can catch her on Fox Sports. Also, make sure you check out her show called Beyond the Headlines on Fox Sports Radio. Also, make sure her newest project she's got going on called Planet Not Buried. Make sure you check that out also. I'm not going to spoil what it's about. She's going to talk about that. And then we're going to chat it up with Renee. Let's see what's going on with her. Division I soccer All-American. You have seen her on ESPN. You've heard her and seen her on Fox Sports. Man, this girl has sports on the brain. I believe when she was born with a soccer ball. I'm trying to tell you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Miss Renee Washington. Welcome to the show.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. I don't know if I came out with a soccer ball, but I definitely came out kicking, I'm pretty sure. Swinging and kicking and running. So happy to be here.
That shows that's your destiny to do this. Most definitely,
Yes.
Most definitely. Now, Renee, everybody, like I said, they seen you on ESPN. They heard you on Fox Sports. You're covering the sports world all over. You've actually played, and now you're also doing commentary and reporting. Everybody and their mama has seen you, but before we even get into that, I think a lot of people want to know, how did this all start for you, Renee? But before we even get into that, Renee, that was rude of me. How was your day today?
It's going well. It's going well. Can't complain. It's been a beautiful day outside. We've got, as of the time we're having this conversation, some Thursday night football getting ready to get started. I am an Eagles fan, so I'm excited to see them take on Tampa Bay for whatever it's worth. But so far my day is going well. If you ask me in about 6 hours, it might be a little different response, but.
Well, don't feel bad, because my team has been the Washington football team since 1987. So I've been with the ups and downs, so it's more downs than ups, but they're still my team. But we will talk about that later on also. So people, be patient. Don't worry. We will talk about sports, because once again, she knows it all, and we will definitely talk about it. Now, Renee, let's start from the beginning. Now, when did you first realize that you had a true love for sports?
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't know, and it's actually kind of funny to me that a lot of people know me more now as Renee the reporter and not Renee the athlete, because there was a time not too long ago it was the opposite, where I was just a former athlete trying to make a name for myself in the reporting world. But I got started in sports as a player. I grew up in a sports family. I grew up watching games, going to games, Sixers games, Eagles games, Philadelphia Kicks, Philadelphia Charge, every sport. And my parents actually allowed my siblings and I to play every sport. So basketball was the main one. My dad played that overseas. He played professionally. My mom played in college. So, growing up, basketball was always a big sport. Also, football was a big sport for us. So my sisters and I were the first ones to play soccer. We tried every sport: softball, tennis, swimming, basketball, soccer, track, but soccer was one of the ones we stuck with. And for me, as I was going through, and I played basketball and soccer my entire childhood, and then was actually even being recruited for both. But for me, it made more sense to play soccer. It was my better sport. I was much more talented at it. I was already playing with a lot of the best players in the country. So it was a no-brainer to continue playing at a high level and being offered an opportunity to play with a program that I was able to just come in and play. I didn't expect to have nearly the success that I did. I actually was just going somewhere where I could play for 4 years. All-American wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know that was something I could really achieve. So to be a part of a program where we won conference tournaments, went to the NCAA tournament, being a part of a lot of historic firsts was just an incredible opportunity for me. So it all started when I was like 4.
Wow. Now, you know, and that's the thing. I tell a lot of people this also. Whenever you start something at a young age and you feel great about it, like you're excited to go on that field or hold that ball or do whatever you do at a young age, I believe you're destined to do that for the future. I mean, that's even down with jobs. Like if you wake up in the morning and you're like, why do I have to go to this job? That job really isn't for you. That's not what your God-given purpose was. And that's the thing. You started at the age of 4 and you ran with it like it was no tomorrow. Now, let's talk about that. So when you started at 4, you played, like you said, you played against some of the best around the world. What type of hurdles did you go through to get to becoming a Division I soccer All-American? I'm sorry, a 3-time. Let's get that right. Not 1, not 2, 3. A 3-time champion. What did you go through?
Yeah, it was a lot, honestly. And one of the best things that soccer really did for me was just help teach me about the world. Being a Black girl in a sport that there weren't many others that looked like me, I dealt with everything. I dealt with politics. I dealt with some really unfortunate toxic situations. I dealt with some great things too. It wasn't all bad, but it really just showed me a lot about the world, but also a lot about what's possible. Like I said, being an All-American wasn't on my radar. I always aspired to play at the highest level. I wanted to play in the WNBA. I wanted to play professional soccer, and I didn't actually think I'd get there. So the moment I had an opportunity to at least get into playing professional soccer, it was eye-opening for me. Just to see, like, here I was, somebody that grew up in a family that soccer wasn't our background. Like I said, it was basketball, it was football. I grew up in a family. My dad coached me my entire youth career, which a lot of people also don't know. And so I was on a very unique path. I was someone that constantly always had to prove myself and constantly always had to fight for everything. Nothing was given to me at all. There was never anything easy and just handed over on a silver platter. So everything I had to do, I had to scrape and claw. I didn't come from a family. Of course, it was a 2-parent household. I will never try to act like I came from the worst upbringing. I came from a very loving 2-parent household. But we weren't rich in the fact that my parents could send me to camps all over the world and fly me out to different tournaments and things like that. We were driving everywhere. We were doing everything as a family, which I loved. But I didn't have some of those opportunities that some of my counterparts did. So I had to work harder. But in the end, I realized just how much that helped me just to have a better sense of work ethic, because everything was earned. And, for me, that's something that now as an adult, when I look back, I'm like, I don't think there's anything, and I won't say nothing, but there's almost nothing that life could throw at me that I haven't faced already. For the most part, in terms of toxic situations and politics and having to prove myself and having to fight for what I want and having to chase my dreams and be passionate about something, that all started as an athlete, as a soccer player. So it just taught me a lot about life, and it just gave me a lot of confidence in myself. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to be an All-American. I didn't go into LaSalle University expecting to win conference tournaments, expecting to be MVP and be ranked a top 50 NCAA female athlete or anything like that. It just happened, and in my work ethic, and I earned it. So it just showed me, okay, if that's possible, imagine what I could do now if I am going into things intentionally with goals in mind for myself. And being a little bit more mature and grounded in who I am and what I want, now what's possible. So it just opened my eyes a lot to the world.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, what you just said, it actually, it started making me think when you was talking, because like you said, during the time that you were playing in your career, it wasn't a lot of people that looked like you. that was on the field. Now, did you have any mentors to help you guide you through the way to make sure you stayed on track?
Yeah, like I said, I'm fortunate. I come from a very loving family. My family has been my rock through everything that has helped me be able to have the confidence, the support, the encouragement to keep going. Even when I look at things like jobs and shows and just experiences that maybe don't go the way I want them to, I've been fortunate that I can rely heavily on my family. I've had teammates and coaches that have been helpful throughout the course of it. So as a soccer player, my mentors and the people I looked up to were really those closest to me, and they still are. Like my circle, I keep a very small circle for that reason, because I don't trust everybody in the same sense. I've got trust issues, but I really do know that at the end of the day, it starts with my family, because I was fortunate. I had my two older sisters who were 3 years older. They were kind of the ones that led the foundation for me and the groundwork for me. And then, of course, with having parents that played, and played, especially my dad playing professionally overseas, just helped me to have that perspective. As a soccer player growing up, the crazy thing is I didn't have many others that looked like me that I wanted to be like, and I look at like a Mia Hamm. Of course, there were people that were idols and role models in that sense, but it was a different time then. And so I didn't have, as a young girl, the same people that looked like me that I could one day want to be like.
Wow. And I definitely understand that. And see, when you have something like that happen, when there's not a lot of people, that looks like you to play, it's hard to say, I want to be like XYZ.
Exactly.
That makes it harder. But at the same time, I see that your brain trained to the point where you was like, I'm going to be better than XYZ. I'm going to be the best of the best. And that's what happened. And that's what I want to talk about next. I want to know how was your personal feeling when you actually found out that you was named in the top 50 list in 2014 as NCAA, one of the top NCAA women?
Yeah, that actually may have been bigger than. No, it was not, but it was up there with being named All-American. So when I was first named an All-American my sophomore season, I was like, wait, what? So then after that happened sophomore year, I was like, okay, that's the bar now, where I expect to get that every year. But what made the NCAA honor so incredible was because it was all female athletes across NCAA sports. So to be named the top 50, when you think about like how many people that is, and I'm still not sure how I got put in that list, that was like mind-boggling to me, because All-Americans, that's D1 soccer players. Still a great long list of people that I'm in the mix with. But now I'm like, this is all athletes. These are all female athletes that I'm included with. Yes. So it's beyond just soccer. You mean to tell me across every sport, in the year 2014, I was one of the top. So it was something, again, I did not expect. And it came at a great time, because I was just finishing up my college career, and I was working through a lot mentally and emotionally. It was not an easy 4 years for me whatsoever. So that was something that was so validating to me, that what I'm doing is getting noticed. Even though I may be dealing with a lot of chaos, a lot of mess, a lot of hell, what I'm doing on the soccer fields is getting noticed. So that was just like that reassuring moment. And I really, truly believe, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe we get signs along the way that kind of reminds us, like, you're doing the right things, you're going in the right path. And that was one of those signs from God, like, okay, keep going. It may be hard, but keep going. There's more to do. So that's why I say I'll put that up there with being named All-American. It just completely caught me off guard. I didn't know I didn't apply for it. I didn't know, still don't know how my name got in the mix. I got a certificate somewhere, actually. But that was incredible. That was incredible for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's watching worldwide right now, Renee is being humble. So I'm going to say what Renee will not say right now. Let me clear my throat for this one. Go on YouTube, watch her highlights. You will see why she was in that list. See, Renee is playing that part of the role where, I went out there on surprise. I went against all these other women. Renee, I've seen your highlights. You was a beast, woman. You was a beast. So, yes, you were good at what you done. So, everybody, make sure you do go check her out. Make sure you check out her when she was on the field, because, like I said, Her endurance is crazy. She was just nasty on the field. Yes, you supposed to be in that top 50 list. You was. Now, Renee, we heard about your time on the field. You know, started at the age of 4. You ran through 3-time Division 1 soccer All-American, made the top 50 list. Now, when your soccer career was over, I'm not sure if you shocked yourself, because at the time, the movement for women in the sports world, you know, far as it goes for being on ESPN and also, you know, doing Fox Sports, it wasn't as a high as it is now. So how hard was it and how excited were you when you found out that you had these positions for ESPN and you had these positions for like Fox Sports Radio? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, definitely when I stopped playing and I got into college coaching, it was not an easy, like, I'm done playing and I'm going to start reporting. There were some detours along the way. So like, I coached college soccer. I wasn't sure how to fully get into reporting because my undergrad was in public relations. I had a double minor in Spanish and psychology. Like, my master's degree was not in broadcasting. Everything I was doing was great, but even the internships I had, none of them were really geared towards being a reporter. So it was a tough challenge because I had to make a leap of faith and really just take that risk that this is something I'm passionate about. As I was looking through, what is it I like to do? What is it I don't like to do? I knew I was passionate about reporting. I just didn't know if it was possible for me. I felt like it was too late. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I was behind because I was too busy comparing myself to other people instead of understanding at 20, you know, my early 20s when I'm finishing undergrad and just getting into grad school, I had so much time, but I felt like it was too late. So I had to really just change my focus and just started hustling and grinding and figuring out, okay, what is it that I want to do? What can I start doing now that will lead me there? Okay, if I want to one day be on air, let me learn every little thing that I possibly could. I just started being a student of broadcasting, of just trying to learn every single aspect of it and honestly, I wasn't even on air to start. I was behind the scenes. And then I finally got in through news. And then from there, I slowly went into high school sports. And slowly from one thing to the next of just asking and wanting to shadow and learn, where literally my name was getting called for opportunities because I was just putting myself in all these places. So it just came, honestly, I was ironically just looking at my very first reel I ever did in 2016. And I was like, holy crap. I thought I was doing something. I mean, it was good. But I look at myself then compared to now, and I'm like, wow, I'm like a whole different person, you know? So it's just amazing that these are some of the goals I set out to do to get into television, professional sports. I wanted to work in major sports. Football, basketball, and soccer have always been my big 3. And I've now been able to work in the MLS, the NFL, the WNBA, and the NBA. So, you know, these are goals that I set out to do 5 years ago. And it's not that long of a time when you really think about it. So that was, again, it's a reminder to me because I'm not where I want to be by any stretch of the imagination. I've got a lot more I plan to do. But it's just been a reminder to me, like, even, like I said, as I looked back on my old reel today, wow, look how far I've come. You know, back then I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was next. I was just learning. I was just taking it all in. Whereas now I've learned so much, met so many people, that even my growth has allowed me to have conversations like this. Whereas there was another time where I didn't know many people outside of my local station I was working in the industry, you know, and was just at games like, oh, wow, who's that person? Who's that person? Now I walk into a game, a practice, a new opportunity. I'm like, hey, family, like, nice to see you guys. So, you know, I think when you talk about just being able to work in some of these networks, much like when I was named All-American or named to NCAA Top 50, it's just a reminder, you know, I'm doing the right things. I'm on the right path because contrary to what people may believe, I need that reminder just like everybody else does, because Lord knows there's a lot of hard days, a lot of questionable days, and a lot of tough, you know, challenges thrown at each of us. So we all need those reminders that, like, okay, keep going. It's okay. One day at a time.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because, like you said, you know, there's days that you receive challenges. There's days that you're scratching your head saying, why am I here? What am I doing? And I know you went through that within the sports world, especially for reporting, commentary, and everything. But when did you really realize that this was actually your dream career? This is it for you. When did it hit your head that this was it?
So I've had a few of those along the way. Like the first time I fully realized it, and I don't think I will ever forget this day, it was junior year of undergrad. I'm sitting in my townhouse that I lived in with my roommates and one of my roommates, and I was telling her at that time, I think I want to be a sports reporter. I was like, I want to play professional soccer. I want to write a book. I want to be a sports reporter. And I was like, and I want to meet LeBron James. So I've checked some of those off. Haven't done all of them. But now I haven't met LeBron James. I have started writing a book that should hopefully be done within the next year and out. I'm a sports reporter, and I did get a chance to at least get into professional soccer. So, that was the first moment that it started to click, because I was thinking, again, I had all these internships in PR. I had like 7 or 8 internships in PR. And I knew things about the PR I enjoyed. But the biggest thing I liked was content creating. I didn't like the office hours and being at a desk every day. I liked creating content. I liked having conversations with people. PR was more internal, and more like business to business type of work that I was doing. But I was like, okay, what does this look like in a job? And so that was the first step. And then along the way, I've had moments, and definitely when I started working in high school sports was definitely one of those major moments, because in high school sports, you have the players, their parents and family members, grandma, grandpa, that they're just so excited to see you. And so when I was out at games and I was getting that like, oh, it's Renee, like, how are you? We love what you're doing. You do a great job. And I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And then I started getting, more comfortable with increasing like the number of mentors I had, growing my network, building relationships with people. I really started understanding the grind. So that was kind of that moment where I was realizing, okay, you know what? I guess I'm pretty good at this. So of course, as it went from there, like each validation, each moment, as you're talking about, those reminders just kind of got bigger and bigger. And then definitely when I was on my first time working with the Philadelphia Union in the MLS, doing their pregame, postgame, and halftime shows, and the cameras are rolling, live TV, and I am broadcasting a game. I'm like, wow, okay, that was definitely, one of those most recent moments. So anytime I start something new or really get that opportunity where someone takes a chance on me, whatever it may be, that next step always helps me like look back, like, okay, I've come a long way. But I've had a lot of those. I'm a very nostalgic person. Like I am the see you next year type of person, and at the end of the year. So I take it all in. I don't miss or take anything for granted, because I'm like paying attention to all of it.
That's what I'm talking about. And you see, that's what a lot of people, I feel, there's some people, and I'm not going to name no names, so Renee, you don't need to neither. I could, but I'm not. Both of us have experienced people in the entertainment industry, sports industry, when they get to a certain level, they forget everything they did to climb that ladder to get to where they at. And I think about 20 names just flashed through your head when you just did that right then. And I get it, because same here too. And that's what I want to tell people that's listening worldwide. What Renee just said is true. She don't forget anything. Where I'm at now, I'm in season 9 of my show. I don't forget where I started at. So you and everybody that's watching worldwide right now, you have to experience the steps, climbing the ladder. Because when you get to that ultimate goal, you're going to look back and say, wow, I did that. And you don't want to go just straight to the top, because you have nothing to talk about. You have no story to tell. So you keep doing what you're doing, people out there. Keep climbing that ladder, and I promise you, you're going to get to where you need to get to. Now, talk about climbing a ladder, though, Renee. We got to talk about a show that you're on, though. Fox Sports Radio. You're doing it, girl. I'm telling you, you're doing it. And it's called Beyond the Headlines. So how did you get introduced to that, and how do you feel about it today?
Yeah, so Beyond the Headlines was actually not my first show that I launched. I launched 2 shows before with a concept, and they didn't fail. I just made a move because I had a better opportunity to like grow it. So This was like the 3rd run for me creating a show, and I wanted to just make sure it really embodied everything that I stand for and aligns with who I am. So the concept of it is exactly as the name is, of going deeper than just the trending topic. So although we'll talk about what's going on in sports and news and music and entertainment, like the main headlines. Okay, we'll talk about Kyrie or Ben Simmons or the Major League Baseball playoffs or WNBA playoffs or whatever's going on. But we'll also get deeper, and we'll also talk about some stories, experiences, people's journeys. I look to use it as a way to educate, inspire, or just motivate somebody in some way, because I know, like, for me alone, there's a lot that people don't know. All we see is what's on social media. All we see is, oh, you've got this job or whatever the latest headline is in your bio, but we don't actually know who you are. So I try to bring out, and whether it's a coach, a player, I've done a lot of rappers, musicians, entertainers, business owners, just a wide variety of people, of just bringing out their stories and being able to share some of their experiences with other people, because we need that. All of us are working through our own challenges in some way. And I think it's so beneficial to have the opportunity to hear, okay, I know this person plays professional soccer, but how'd you get there? Or I know this person's a big time rapper. How'd they get there? And so it's grown. Again, when I look back on where the show started, the look of it, the feel, the sound. I mean, I'm now doing live episodes. I actually have a big opportunity that I'll be announcing in the next couple weeks or so around it. It's still growing. So it's definitely been an exciting time to just see how much it's catching on and how much it's picking up. You talk about year 9. I'm like, gosh, I don't even know where I'll be by season 9 with this show. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But we're a few years in, and it's catching on quickly, and I'm appreciative of that, because it's my baby. This is my vision, and it's something that I created to have that creative control to bring something different. Since I feel like so many times when we turn, and look, I'm guilty of this too. I turn on TV, I watch the same shows all day, the same storylines every single show. But there's more than that out there. We can only talk about why Kyrie is not getting vaccinated so many times. There are more stories out there that we're not talking about, and they deserve to be covered too.
Now, talking about stories that need to be covered. No, I don't even want to go there right now, because I'm about to cry when I talk about it. So first, before we even go there, tell everybody, how can they actually catch this show on Fox Sports Radio? When does it come on beyond the headlines? When can they catch it, and where?
Yeah, so I have a live episode. Well, actually, it's usually 2 live episodes, but it's 1 or 2 a week that drops across digital platforms. So you can actually tune in live to watch, and that's on my Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Renee P. Washington. Those are my handles. And then if you miss it, it actually airs across podcast platforms too. So if you missed the live episode, you can always listen to it across Spotify, iTunes, wherever you catch your podcast. So it's super easy to find, and I actually have social media pages for it as well, for Beyond the Headlines, that you can easily Google and find. So there's no reason not to check it out.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, watching worldwide. Make sure you go check it out. Follow Renee on social media, because you don't know what she's going to do next. She has an announcement in a few weeks. I wish she would give us a little hint about it, but it looks like she's keeping her mouth closed about that. So make sure you follow her so you can know exactly what's about to happen. I got a feeling something's about to big happen, especially with that Kool-Aid smile she got going on. So something big is about to happen. So make sure you do catch up with that. Now, Renee, I don't have no tissue with me, so we'll start crying. If I do, I'm sorry.
I got you.
Thank you. Let's talk a little sports. My team, Washington, played New Orleans. In my opinion, we gave that game away. Jeez. What's your intake? What did you get out of that Washington game this past Sunday? My cousin was in the stands taking pictures live and kept texting them to me and talking about why you so quiet now. And he's a big New Orleans fan. So I got kicked in the you-know-what real hard. So what did you get out of this, Renee? Let's talk a little sports. What did you get out of this game?
Unfortunately, for any Washington football fans, I think what's going on in the field right now may be the least of your problems. Look, it's a shame just to see how much has been going on these last few weeks. And I was fortunate to work with the Washington football team for a very, very short time, and be a part of, just some of the content they were creating. But the team had such high aspirations, fans had such high aspirations, especially coming off of last year's wild card playoff game against Tampa Bay, to really think that this was going to be a group that's able to come in, win the NFC East, get back to the playoffs, and do more. But unfortunately, looking at the defense alone, of course, last game was better, but that's not saying much.
True.
Defensively, the team has struggled, but offensively, with Taylor Heinicke coming in, I think he's a great quarterback. But I just think this group as a whole has struggled because there's no definite leader. Like when you really think about it, you've got a lot of younger players, and I keep stressing this to anybody that I talk to about the team. There's a lot of youth. It actually reminds me a lot of where the Washington Wizards have struggled in the NBA, where you've got a lot of good names, you've got a lot of talent, but who's the one that's actually leading the team? Chase Young is the leader of the team. Chase Young's in his second year, So when you really think about it and you look across other teams, who's the guy that's in the huddles? Who's the guy that's changing things on the fly to adjust to what the defense is doing, or telling them, calling plays, making things happen? Who is that for Washington? So while I think that Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, Taylor Heinicke are doing great defensively, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, it's exciting to see the youth, but there's nobody really guiding them, unfortunately. And I think that for the coaching staff, they're doing all they can, but it's going to take more time. And I think that's the hardest thing, is everybody expects it to happen right now. And what I'm seeing is a team that might still be a year out from really being an NFC East champion. I mean, look, I don't like the Cowboys at all, but the Cowboys right now are looking like the better team in the division. And the Eagles and Giants and Washington are right all in that same mix. There's nobody that you can definitively say is head and shoulders above the other. So it's still a scrum of the division alone. And then if you're talking expectations beyond that, the NFL this year is exciting. There are a lot of good teams to watch, which is a good and a bad thing for teams like Washington. Because when you look at what teams like, of course, the Packers, Chiefs were expected to do well. The Ravens expected to do well. The Bills. But you look at teams like the Chargers, even the Panthers. I know they just lost to the Eagles, but before Christian McCaffrey's injury, that group was looking something else. So the Raiders, I know, are dealing with mess. This is where we're starting to get into, okay, who can consistently do this week in and week out as we get into week 6? But overall, across the board, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the 49ers, there's a lot of talented teams right now. So I think for Washington fans, I hate to say this, but just be patient. That was definitely a disappointing loss, because that's a winnable game. The Saints have been inconsistent. They have struggled. They have, Jameis Winston, I got to commend him for how he's been playing, but the team as a whole, every game has is completely different. But to see that Hail Mary at the end of the half, I was man. It's game. That's game. Should have never came back at halftime. That's talk about being on the wrong side of the highlight.
That's true. That's very true. Now, I'm glad you brought up something real quick. Now, I get Dallas is doing this thing right now, but we've seen this within the last 5-10 years. Dallas will start off good, mid-season, we start seeing a flop. So I'm sorry everybody's watching. Yes, you can call me a Dallas hater. Call me Stephen A. Jr. if you want to. I don't care. I'm telling you right now, you're doing good, but don't get your head too big. Now, Renee, I have a question for you also. Now, as far as I'm glad you brought up the Raiders situation. Not to go too deep into that, because that could take up the whole show right there by itself. Do you feel like they have another head coach plan? I didn't get a chance to watch ESPN today to catch up on anything. Are they looking at someone right now to actually take his spot?
Well, first of all, I'm glad you brought that up about Dallas, because I tweeted something out before the season even started where it was it was the crate challenge, and it was Dallas climbing up the crates, and it was hilarious. It was literally like, as they got to the top, they got more wobbly, and the top was the regular season, and the next crate down was the playoffs, and then the person fell, because that's what Dallas does. So that is a team, and look, that's why I say for everyone, you got to be patient, because even looking at the Chiefs, who have been underperforming, it's still so early. Like, I'm not counting anybody out. I have, in my opinion, I look across the board, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, the Packers, the Cardinals, the Rams, the 49ers, Seahawks. they're right there in the mix. The Chargers, but by next week, an injury could happen. Hopefully not. Somebody could get COVID. There's a lot of things that can happen that it could go left. So be patient for everybody else. But as for the Raiders, to your question, I know they have an interim coach right now, but I'm not sure who's going to get that role, because the hard part is we're in week 6, and now you have to look at moving and going through the hiring process. So I imagine, and I know the coach Rich Bisaccia, I believe his name is. He's someone the guys seem to like. They might keep, in my opinion, they might just keep him in for the remainder of the year and then see about next year. You know, it's just so hard to bring whether it's a player or a coach, to make moves like that mid-season. I think in the midst of everything going on around John Gruden, they might just want consistency. You know, so to add another piece into all of this on top of everything else that's going on, and I know they've been talking about how they're just trying to focus and they're just trying to like keep their priorities on the season and not getting caught up in everything that's going on in the investigation around the 650,000 emails. I think for consistency, they might just to stick with an interim coach with Coach Rich, and then maybe next year, depending on how it does, then from there figure out, you know, who they might bring in. But this has definitely been mess. Talk about hitting the fan.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now, talking about hitting the fan, I got to throw something in your face. I want to hear your prediction tonight, Thursday night football. You are playing Tampa Bay, am I correct?
Yes.
Now, I have 2 questions about that. 1, what do you think their final score is going to be? And number 2, what is it going to take for Philly to at least try to stay above water past halftime?
Okay, so the thing that Philly actually has going for them right now, the Eagles, if you watch that last game, the D-line, defense has been playing really well. Offense has been struggling, don't get me wrong, but I like Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts. You talk about youth, those two. Jalen Hurts is basically like a rookie since he didn't play the entire season until the end of last year. And then Devontae Smith, obviously, we know what he was going to come in doing. He had high expectations. So there's pieces on their offense, but I think their defense right now has been their saving grace. And, of course, their special teams making that big play last game just to solidify that win. So I think that actually is what they're going to have to rely on, because Tampa Bay's offense, obviously, I don't even need to explain how great they've been playing. Antonio Brown alone, who everybody wrote off 2 years ago, is catching touchdown after touchdown. Without Gronk, you might say they're going to be weaker. And of course, Tom Brady was nursing like a thumb injury, but he's not. You're not going to see anything different from Tom. But I think it's just going to take a gutsy game of really being able to make big plays and then minimizing turnovers. That's where the offense has struggled. Penalties and turnovers have been the Eagles' Achilles heel. Touchdowns getting called back. Offside, just too many ticky-tack penalties. So they're going to have to be very, very just better of being organized, but better at being very, I'm blanking on the word, just cleaner. It's got to be a clean sheet. So you got to do a better job of making sure you're doing the little things right, because a team like Tampa Bay will expose that. And you can't afford to keep giving the ball back to Tom Brady. You can't punt as many times. You got to convert on some of these third downs, and you got to get yards, move the sticks, and get in the end zone. So I think it's going to take a big overall game, and you can't have any lapses. But I think anything is possible. Tampa Bay, watching them in that, even I'm going to say the loss of the Rams, and the Eagles are by no stretch of the imagination the Rams. But when you watch that game and you just see the way that they have some gaps, they can be beat. I know they're defending champs. They can also be beat. So
that's true. Look,
I'm all for it. I'm all for what's going to be considered an upset, and I'm thinking it'll be like a 3-point game. It's definitely, if the Eagles are to win, it would have to be a close game. There's no way it's going to be anything 20 or like that, 20 points or anything like that. So I'm gonna say because of course I'm a root for the Eagles. Right, I'm gonna say like a 31-27. I know that's not 3 points, it's 4 type game. That's just me throwing out a number, to be honest.
Now, I'm gonna say this right quick, and then I'm gonna end the sports section of this episode right quick. I believe for Philly, what you have to do, Philly, You have to make Tom nervous. Yes, he got a thumb injury. You have to blitz. You have to make this dude run back 5-10 yards to think he's about to run for his life. That's the only way that I believe that you got to put pressure on Tom on this one.
He's too comfortable every game.
Right. That's what I'm saying. When you can sit in the pocket and chill for a minute. And exactly. And that's my problem with Washington, with Taylor. I'm sorry, Heineke, you're my man right now, but you're holding that ball. Stop babysitting it so much. That's what you're doing. But I love when he runs, he run. So I will give him that. I think you have to actually pressure that defense. You have to put your defense on steroids on this game. That's what we have to do. Everybody, make sure you catch a game tonight. And then you make sure you go to Renee's her social media. Hit her up. If Philly wins, you ain't gonna hear the last of it. If you're a Tampa Bay fan. If you're a Tampa Bay fan, do not go to her website. Do not go to her social media pages and say nothing, because she is going to eat into you like it's no tomorrow.
Bring all the smoke.
Oh boy, there you go. Now, there's something else you got going on also. Let's talk about Planted and Buried. What is this about? Tell the world.
Oh, you like, okay. Planted Not Buried is my passion project, my organization that I started as a way to just kind of bring people together. And I've been sitting on this for years. So the thing that is, I'm always doing something. Like what you see me launching right now, like my Beyond the Headlines announcement, for example, that's been months in the making. Like a lot of things that I'm doing I've been working towards it. It does not happen overnight. And this is actually years of planning. But around COVID, I recognized that there's an opportunity here. And COVID also showed me how I can launch it, because I wanted to build this organization of events and networking opportunities and a way to just bring people together, so that regardless of what your professional background or career that you work in, your age, where you live, anything like that, we can start coming together. And because of us having more of these virtual conversations, I realized, oh, that's the way to launch it, is we just can have virtual events. So I did launch it in the start of 2021. I think it was April, actually. Oh, no, I'm lying. It was December of last year, whole different month. But it's really just an organization. I've got apparel that I've actually been working on and has launched. I have a book that's actually going to connect with it as well, but it's got everything from events to networking groups, Slack, Facebook, Instagram. I have a website for it, plantednb.com, and just literally providing people opportunities to connect with others. Everything about it is just positivity, positive vibes, but really understanding the fact that we are all in some way planted, meaning we think that we've been forgotten. We think that we failed. We've been rejected. And the mindset is, you haven't been denied, you've been delayed. You haven't been rejected, you've been redirected. You haven't been broken, you've been bent a little bit. So really understanding, like, planted not buried is that in this time, things may not make sense. It may not be easy. It may not look the way you want it to look. But like a seed in the ground that's not sure what's going to happen next, through consistency, whether it's not to be a green thumb, but like sunlight and watering, but consistency of doing the right things, you will blossom into something that's honestly far greater than what we think we want. So I've lived that, as we talk about even this conversation. For example, getting into college soccer, and my expectation is I just want to play for 4 years and have a great career, not knowing I really was moving towards being an All-American, being a top 50. That's life, where we go into it with one expectation, but then God has something far greater for us. Like that's the mindset you have to have, no matter what is going on. A blessing, or even when a door closes, that's also a blessing for you. Sometimes, and I think that's something we lose sight of, is we only think blessings happen with open doors. And the last thing I'll say about it is, I heard this really great message, and it was saying, we all want green lights in life. Like, we want everything to just go, 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 go. But like a car, if everything was just a green light, think of all the crashes that would happen. There's got to be some red lights for a green light to happen. You've got to stop one thing, close one door, stop focusing on one thing in order to be able to move forward in another. So that's kind of the mindset that I'm bringing with it, is understanding that blessings come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. And even in the seasons that don't make sense, or that we feel like we've lost something or been rejected, we're just being redirect it to something better. So that's what I try to live, and that's what I'm trying to bring through Planted Not Buried.
That's crazy, and that is deep like that. I love the green light, red light scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're actually putting that in, because that was something deep right there. She just dropped a gem and a jewel up on you right there. So also, Renee, give them that website one more time for Planted Not Buried.
Planted Not Buried is plantednb.com. So it's Planted NB is across all social media. That's its handles. That's the website. And then if you ever want to check out my stuff, ReneePWashington.com. Even if you're a Tampa Bay fan or Cowboys fan, I'll take all the smoke. You can connect with me, and I do answer back, and I'm very open to connecting with other people as well. So I appreciate you, though, for having me on, and this has been a lot of fun. You've definitely made me think differently, that's for sure.
Love it. Now, I know you don't have that much time left, especially with Thursday Night Football is about to start soon. Now, what advice would you give any male or female that, that wants to become a sports broadcaster? They say they want to get into ESPN, FOX Sports, or they even want to become an All-American. What advice would you give them?
I have a lot. I think the biggest thing I try to stress is to just focus on your own path, because that's something that when I changed my mindset and my perspective is when I really, really opened doors for myself. Because instead of comparing myself to other people, I was very insecure. I was very stuck on all the things I didn't have and focus on things I wanted but didn't think I could get. And instead just focus on what do I have now? What's going on in my life? What opportunities are there? Who do I have in my life? What are the blessings that I currently have, and what can I do with them? So just focusing on your own race in that sense of not getting caught up between social media and reality TV and whatever else is going on of what you think you're supposed to be doing, and just focus on where you are now. Start where you are. And then from there, you can continue to focus on ways to level up, to grow, to build content, to build your audience, to connect with people. But it does not happen overnight, which is where those comparisons cause us, I feel like, to lose sight of that. Because if I start comparing myself to like Carrie Champion, we're way different points of our life. We're way different people. And I'm now going to be trying to do things prematurely versus doing things that make sense for me. So focus less on others, block out the noise, and just focus on what you've got going on, count your own blessings, and then ways to continue to level up and grow from there. That's one of my many pieces of advice. But I think it's one of the most important things for anyone, regardless who you are, what you're trying to do, to just understand that what's meant for you won't miss you. So if you stay in your race, you will get there. It might not be a straight shot, but you'll get there one way or the other. You might have to bob and weave, take some steps back, but you'll get there eventually.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you took that advice in, and make sure you use that, especially if you're trying to get somewhere in life, even if it's outside of sports. I don't care if you're trying to be the best janitor in the world. You listen to that. I promise you'll get to where you need to get to. Now, Renee, the last portion, the last segment of the show, it is called Take the Floor. So you have up to 2 minutes to say whatever you want. No questions asked. Renee, take the floor.
About anything?
Anything. Take the floor.
I'm going to burst out into song. Oh, gosh. I don't even know what direction to take this. So what I will say is this is an exciting time for sports. We've got the intersection of Major League Baseball, WNBA playoffs, the start of the NBA and NHL. I know, obviously, we're already in the midst of the NFL season. College sports are here. So for anybody that is a sports fan, just take advantage of this time to learn about other sports. Pay attention to other sports. I know right now we've been pushing a lot around women in sports, minimizing and avoiding these toxic environments and spaces like we are seeing come out around the emails around John Gruden, but really just celebrating each other. So I encourage and urge anyone to tap into the WNBA playoffs. It's been exciting. It's been incredible to watch the Chicago Sky and Phoenix Mercury. Learn about baseball. Pay attention to the new NHL on TNT show. Learn other sports, support these other sports, other people, other athletes, because I think this is a time now more than any when we are trying to cut out the toxic workplaces. I've seen it far too many times, and I know you probably have too. We all have. Enough is enough. The racist comments, homophobic and misogynistic, any sort of discriminatory comments, it's time, sexist comments, for them to all stop. So I think now more than ever is when if you genuinely love sports, or even in the workplace, stick together. Let's support our other sports. Let's support our other athletes and colleagues and reporters and producers and whoever else. So support women in sports, but also support diversity in sports and that inclusion that we need to have. So I think that was 2 minutes, but I don't know. I could go longer.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool. Renee, thank you for coming on the show. I would love to have you back on in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure. I love what you do, and keep up all the great work you've got going on too.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, of course, our next guest will be, I never announce my next guest. You have to stay tuned to find out who it is. Make sure you check out Renee on social media. Check her out on Fox Sports Radio. Check her out on ESPN. Check her out on Planet Not Buried. I'm running out of fingers. Check her out on everything she's doing. That shows how big she is right now. So make sure you keep up with her, keep up with me, and until the next time on the Big Scoop with Coop. Peace.